Yo, what's up, everybody? What is going on? Another week of fantasy football has been come to a close, and now we are looking forward to week 8. We are getting step by step closer to those fantasy football playoffs. I know a lot of you are trying to make those final pushes, trying to make some final trades to get your team over the top, to get them over the hill, and we're here to help with that. We're going to start off with our free agency ads for week 8. Oh man, this first one is a huge one. You guys definitely need to go grab him if you haven't already. We talked about him a couple of weeks ago, um, and now he's finally starting to come into himself, and he's starting to get a little bit of rapport with his quarterback. But Oronde Gaston, man, this dude is just looking phenomenal. We're talking about 9 targets. He caught 7 of those for 164 yards and a tutty to go with it. And I went back and watched that game film, and it wasn't just all right, he's happened to be open this game. No, it was literally Justin Herbert was looking for Gaston. Even in the red zone, he could have almost had a second touchdown, to be honest with you, but it was just sort of an overthrown ball. Aronda Gaston, guys, you got to go grab him while you can. If he's still out there on waivers, you definitely need to go pick him up. I was able to grab him last week after I made a trade for Darren Waller. Excuse me. So that's a huge pickup going forward, and this schedule gets pretty nice going into the fantasy football playoffs. You got week 16 against Dallas, week 17 against Houston, and then week 18 against my Broncos if you play in the championships in week 18. But that playoff schedule is pretty sexy, and he's just going to get better as he gets more rapport with his quarterback. Going into a new kind of running back, man. We got a rookie here showing up, Kyle Monangai. Guys, this dude was already talked about a lot in the offseason. We thought that he could potentially take over a higher role or even fight DeAndre Swift for that starting role. He's already surpassed Rashawn Johnson, and now we're seeing him get 45% of the snaps this past week, and he looked phenomenal. 13 carries, 81 yards, and 1 tutty to go with it. Also getting targets out of the backfield, 3 targets, 2 receptions, only for 13 yards, but, that's neither here nor there. For a running back, a rookie running back who can potentially end up being a true RB1 if there's an injury. We don't want anything to happen to Swift, but Swift runs the ball very hard, man. That guy is a go-getter. He's a downhill running back. So you always want to have the backup running back for those type of running backs. Go out there and grab Kyle Monangai. He's starting to look really good and coming to his own. Next up, I talked about this guy last week. I'm going to talk about him again, especially with the injury. If you have, excuse me, guys, if you had the injury to Mike Evans, who went out last night, it's looking like he has a broken clavicle, which possibly keeps him out for the rest of the season. I'm not going to go too far on that, but he's going to be out at least a few weeks at the very least if it is truly broken. You got to get somebody to fill into that role. Emmanuel Ibuka's been balling out. But like I said, once again, Tez Johnson, if you watched that game last night, you would have noticed Tez Johnson that he stuck out a lot. He's extremely fast. And if Baker Mayfield can bring his passes down, there's a wide open touchdown for Tez Johnson that he just burnt the defense. He completely burnt them. And Baker Mayfield sort of overthrew him. I think Baker Mayfield's just so used to playing with Mike Evans and these taller receivers. And Ted Johnson is only 5'10", but he had 9 targets last night, and he had 1 tutty. He could have had 2. Easily a second touchdown in this game last night against a tough Detroit Lions team. And a lot of teams are going to continue to shade towards Emeka Ibuka. And then, you have the other receivers there as well, Chris Godwin and those guys. So as they continue to shade towards them, Ted Johnson is just going to get more and more looks. I'm going out there. I'm grabbing Ted Johnson in the leagues I can. I have him in our Dynasty League. You guys get him if you need receiver help. Another receiver that's being extremely slept on, and I don't understand how he continues to go under the radar. He's only 41%, or never mind, he's 73% roster now, went up. But Romeo Doubs, everybody's asking who's the alpha receiver for the Green Bay Packers. I wouldn't call him a necessary alpha, but he does get majority of the targets. He gets a lot of targets. We saw that this past week he had 8 targets. The week before that he had 9. And he had 6 receptions for 72 yards. It's nothing to write home to your mom about, but when he does get touchdowns, he gets them in bunches. We saw him week 2, he got 1 touchdown. He had 11 points, but then that week 4 against Dallas, he ended up getting 3 tutties. And they need that go-to receiver. Romeo Doubs was the go-to receiver in the preseason and in the offseason with Jordan Love. So go ahead and grab Romeo Dobbs. He's still out there. I'm surprised he's out. Oh, he's not available in our league. He's available for trade. So next up, we have another Johnson coming up. It's a lot of Johnsons, Paul. But we got Theo Johnson, man. This guy is just sowing rapport with Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart has now been the starter for 3 weeks now, and we've seen Theo Johnson get week 5 against New Orleans, 21 points, and then this past week against my Denver Broncos, he had 15 points in a tutty in that game. And he also had a tutty in week 4. We're starting to see him and Jackson Dart really get a connection. Actually, let me see this. I think Jackson Dart was actually started that week 4 game for his touchdown too. Yes, he was. I'm pretty sure. Yep. Against the Chargers. So, hey, man, go out there and get Jackson Dart's quote unquote one of his favorite weapons. If you know anything about football, you know that rookie quarterbacks love their tight ends. That's just sort of like their blanket. Like, all right, and whenever those harder throws, there's smaller windows to throw the ball downfield to the other receivers. That blanket tight end usually helps them out a lot. He's 6'6". This is his second year in the NFL. He understands coverages. He understands how to get open in certain aspects of the game. And if he starts getting more of these targets turned into receptions, those numbers are going to just look from even better. 7 targets, 3 receptions. If we could have got 5 right there, you're talking about a whole new ball game. So we're talking about tight end 1 numbers. So go out there, Theo Johnson. And then our next up, we have a lot of rookies talking about. Something else about fantasy football that a lot of people tend to forget is it takes a while for the rookies to figure out what they're trying to do and who they are, establish themselves in the offense and get things going. And we're starting to see some of these rookies come into their own. Brashard Smith is another rookie running back that I really highly recommend you guys go out there and get. He's starting to become sort of that passing down running back for them. They're getting the ball out of the backfield. The Kansas City Chiefs stated earlier in about 2 weeks ago that they wanted to give Brashard Smith the ball more and get him out in open field. I saw this guy play at SMU, man, and this dude is a beast. Like, don't look at his size, but look at his effort. Like, this dude has a heart of a lion. He doesn't go down easy. He fights for yardage. He actually ended up getting 14 carries in this game, which is even better because for a passing down back, now he's starting to get more carries out of the backfield. You love seeing that. The average was only 279, so he wasn't doing too much with them, but 14 carries, I'll take that. 39 yards. His numbers are only going to get better. We don't want to see any injuries. I always say that with any of the players, but, all it takes is Pacheco to miss a game, and then Brashard Smith can take over that backfield, and there's no looking back from there. They have a pretty easy schedule going forward as well, especially into the playoffs. You got Dallas week 13. Houston's tough, but then you get the Chargers, Tennessee, easy money. Then you get Denver again. My boys will, in the championship game. But other than that, we have one more player that I want to tell you guys to start looking to get a trade in for. He sort of got banged up in this game, so I'm a little skeptical, but I still feel that you guys can go out there and try to put a trade in and get him cheap. I know there's a lot of frustrated owners out there. I'm one of them. If I could have had just an RB2 game out of Saquon this past week, I could have pulled out a potential win. But we're going to get 5 points out of Saquon against a tough Minnesota team, 8 points against New York Giants. But let me tell you guys, they got the Giants again this week, and Saquon heard all of that noise that the Giants were talking last week when they got the win against them, like how the fans were stating, we don't need Barkley, we got Scatterboo, and we own the Eagles, and blah, blah, blah. Saquon is hungry. He had a pretty bad game against Minnesota. He's been trying to get heated up. And they're frustrated. They want to get him going because he was a big part of their championship run. They're pulling out wins, and Jalen Hurts looks phenomenal. And what I like about this whole situation the most is that now teams are being reminded that you cannot put 8 people in the box and not expect Jalen Hurts to hurt you. So now this is going to spread teams back out. They're like, okay, we definitely have to get some coverage out there. A.J. Brown can burn us. Devontae Smith can burn us. The tight ends can burn us. So with that being said, these boxes are going to get a lot easier for Saquon going forward. Dallas Goedert is who I was thinking about. And let's look at this schedule going forward into the playoffs. Week 14, got the Chargers. You could definitely run the ball against the Chargers. Week 15, Las Vegas. They're already banged up. And by week 15 comes around, they could potentially be playing, people off the street with Vegas. That's going into the playoffs. Then they got Washington, who hasn't been the strongest this year against the run, actually, surprisingly. And then you got Buffalo, that championship week 17. Unless you go to week 18, you got Washington. So that championship game is going to be tough. But, man, I'm telling you, this schedule gets so freaking sexy, especially after this bye week in week 9. Going forward, I'm loving me some Saquon Barkley going forward. And if you could put a trade in, that's somebody you definitely want to go grab. Somebody else to look at. Boom, Jackson Dart. He's still only 54% rostered. One of the toughest matchups we were worried about on the schedule was it my Denver Broncos, and he still went out there and had a phenomenal game. I was impressed. I was talking trash to some Giants fans. I told them we're not worried about the Giants. Like, y'all are just getting, y'all just got a little hot. Jackson Dart got in. Y'all are feeling yourselves. We're going to bring y'all back to reality. But in all honesty, if it wasn't for the fourth quarter where, my boy Bo Nix showed up and put up 33 points, they had us pinned down. And Jackson Dart was balling. That interception that he threw came at the end of the game. This is 29 points against a phenomenal defense. Then he gets Philadelphia this week. If you guys are in a position like I am where Justin Fields got benched out of nowhere last week, and then I got Jaden Daniels on my team who left the game last week with a hamstring injury against the Cowboys. Jackson Dart is a definite throw, man. If you can get Jackson Dart, I will go out there and grab him ASAP. Other than that, man, God bless you all. Appreciate you all that tune in and check out the YouTube videos and listen to us and support. We're just going to continue to go, man, and grow. And we've been doing this for some years now, and I appreciate everybody that still appreciates our hard work that goes into the research and trusting us on their start sits. And, nobody's perfect, man, but we're going to continue to try our best. Hey, if it makes you guys feel any better, I had a Rondé Gaston sitting on my bench this week, but I did have Evan Ingram in, but obviously I could have used those 27 points from Gaston. But neither here nor there. With that being said, one more time, I'm going to tell you guys, God bless you all, man, and Jesus is King. I love you all. Peace and love.